Did you hear that?
Yeah, I was like, oh, I get intro music.
It probably was pretty loud too. I did not mean to hit that sample pad just now, so my apologies. Okay, but welcome everyone to Khordmaster Keys. Today, super special episode. We have singer, songwriter, musician, and Twitch streamer extraordinaire. Do you like that? Is that a good? That's a good introduction.
I like that. I like that a lot.
We, we have Anna Luther with us today. Anna, how are you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. We had a little technical issues. I was getting. I don't know if you saw. I had like a little sweat. You probably couldn't see it because I have the hat on. Little sweat dripping down my face a little bit there. I was like, "What is going on here?" I have four recordings today. So four people. Like the other three are not until much later. But I was like, man, what a rough start. Like this is gonna be like downhill from there. But we kind of figured it out collectively. So I'm super excited about that.
No, it's only up from here. Only up.
That's true. That's true. We have to look at things optimistically, don't we?
Yes,
That's what
especially
it's
on
all
Monday.
about. That's what it's all about. So let me set the stage here. So I'm a musician. I started streaming on Twitch not too long ago. After like a year or so of really spending time honing my craft, learning how to play the instruments, as well as trying different platforms out, like the Reddits of the world, Instagram Live, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. And I kind of, and then even some of the smaller, like sort of music streaming platforms, sort of startup companies that have sort of surfaced in the past year or so. And I was trying to just figuring things out. And then ultimately, like Twitch kind of presented itself as the premier destination for live musicians, right? It's where people go to see the best live musicians, I believe, and then where people who are like yourself are going to kind of set their stake at and say this is the platform that I'm going to call home and kind of do my live streaming and stuff. So I came across you and several others who are just super talented on the platform. And my telltale sign, like if the person is good or not, is like if I put a comment, like a nice comment, hey, how you doing, Anna, and how's everyone doing? And then they take the moment to like respond to me. I feel like very special about that. I'm like, this is a good person right here. I want to definitely get to know this person more. And so I started checking your stuff out. You're extremely talented, and I'm super excited to have you here today. I want to start off kind of talking to you a little bit about your background. And I want to know what you were like as a kid. Like, what was young Anna like? What were you into? Where'd you grow up? And that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, what was I like? I was a little bit of a hellion, I guess. Not too bad, but I grew up in the Ohio Valley in a small town called Steubenville, and I lived there up until I was about 15, 16 years old. One of six kids, and I am number four in six. So I
Wow.
just kind of ran around and I did my own thing, like in
Yeah.
my lineup. Um, and I still have this habit. I just never shut up. I was known as the chatterbox, and I was
hmm
always talking or singing or doing something. But I was definitely kind of my own little character, I guess. And I just kind of love to go off and do my own thing, make my own stories, that type of stuff. Um, so yeah, and that was about it. I was spunky. I was always into music. My parents met doing music, and all of the kids were required to at least start piano by the age of 5, and then
Nice.
decide if they want to continue on or not.
Sure.
So I was one of the ones that decided to stick with it, and then I wanted to join band. I wanted to do all of these things, so I taught myself how to play trumpet so I could go to band camp with my friends, like that
Nice.
type of stuff. So yeah, that was my childhood. I was homeschooled for a bit, and then I went to public school, or like just went to school in general by the time I was in 4th grade. So it was a lot of, especially growing up, like in my younger years, it was just a lot of, you know, me going off, doing my own thing, deciding what I wanted. It was very independent, I guess.
hmm Very cool. So you started really young, and then fast forward. We're not going to throw anyone's age out there, but fast forward to where you are currently right now. Like,
Yeah.
would you say that you've been doing music to some extent sort of throughout that entire process, or did you take any like breaks in high school and college to do other things before coming back to it?
Yeah, so I actually, kind of a big part of my story is that I was really sick as a kid, and like as an infant, probably like 5 or 6 months, I guess, I had RSV, and it ended up leaving me with scarred vocal cords, and they didn't really know until I was in high school exactly what it was. They thought it was vocal nodules. They weren't positive, and it ended up being a vocal polyp. So growing up, I would lose my voice like every other day. Sometimes it would be like for weeks on end. So I loved to sing, but everyone always associated me with having this like raspy Adele voice. And it was super, hard for me when it's like, okay, music is something that you love, but then you never really know what's going to come out of your mouth. Either it's going to sound great, or I'm going to try and sing a note and just no sound. It would just be air. So I definitely tried to stay in music by being in band, and I would join choir, but I would tell them about my situation. So sometimes I would just like lip sync for a year and pretend I was singing. But that was how I got into teaching music, because I was still well versed in theory and stuff like that. So my teachers would be like, well, if you can't sing, like, we'll have you be the assistant teacher, and you can take different groups of people and teach them the music. So I was planning on going to college for music education, and by the time they figured out what was going on with my voice, doctors were like, you're just not going to sing again, pick a different career. You need the surgery if you want to be able to kind of have a more consistent voice that you can rely on in everyday speech, but long term it's probably not doable for you. So I did in college, I did music more as a hobby. I joined an a cappella choir just while my voice was recovering. So that was probably the longest break, was probably just 1 or 2 years of only doing music and like side stuff while I was studying psychology and neuroscience, things like that in school. But then when I had this, ridiculous recovery, I was like, oh, it's a second chance I can't pass up. So then I just started learning production and songwriting and all of that while I was still in college. I was doing like both at the same time. So but that was like my break.
Yeah. Wow. That's super powerful testimony. I think like for people to, anytime like I hear stories about such a traumatic and tremendous and significant hurdle or challenge or situation that someone deals with that seemingly, would present itself as something that's going to completely derail like vocals and now becoming a singer, like it seems like how could you have made that happen? But that's an incredible testimony and an incredible just story, that you shared, like fast forward X amount of years, like we mentioned, and now you're doing what you love to do and you're amazing at it, and you're reaching. And so this is the thing, right? So you have a platform now and an audience where you're reaching people, however often, I mean, weekly, right? You have weekly streams, so people come to you and it's a part of their livelihood, or I don't know if that's the right word, but a part of their lives, period, right? Like what they enjoy. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that really, really is appealing to me with Twitch. I was doing a live stream yesterday, and I was just sitting here right in this exact setting and just saying like 15 or so years ago, when I first started getting a little bit into like music production, there were so many times at that time where, a little bit more than 15, maybe 20 years ago, where I'm like sitting here and I'm like, man, I'm having such a great time, not here, back at my parents' house, of course, at the time, but I'm having such a great time like producing and like making this music, and it sounds so interesting to me. I'm like, man, I wish I can share this with people. I wish there was an opportunity to like have people who are interested in seeing someone who's into music like, create something from scratch. But like if people can just kind of like see what's happening here. At that time, there was no cell phones and no way to really record and capture the moments and things like that. And man, like fast forward now and look where we are. That's the third time I said fast forward in this conversation, by the way. Probably it's going to continuously happen. So fast forward, fourth time. And look where we are now. Like now we have that platform. We have not obviously just music, but the gamers of the world, and doing whatever you want to do to kind of create a brand and create some entertainment and some value for people. I just think it's like it's extraordinary. So like kind of going into the Twitch thing for you, I wanted to, and actually before even talking about Twitch, you mentioned teaching music. So currently, in addition to your live streaming, you also teach music right now?
I do. Yes, I work
Wow.
for a company called Music Career Mastermind, and so on top of they have like multi-week sessions that people can do, and it's kind of all about learning the basics of production and being an artist and all of that. But we also do other programs as well. So sometimes it's focused on a contemporary artist. Sometimes these sessions are focused on musical theater artists or people trying to really just hone in on their production and mixing skills. So I kind of jump from place to place. I'm the teacher that gets assigned students when, if they're just looking for something specific for one-off lessons, especially. If it's vocal health, vocal pedagogy, if it's, working on your performance and the differences between performance while you're recording or performances during a live session or a live setting.
Right.
So songwriting, branding, any of those things, I'm kind of teaching all of that. Just depends on the student and it depends on the day.
Wow, that's really cool. So most of that is like one-on-one stuff, right? Or is it
Yeah, a lot of it is one-on-one, and then every once in a while I'll do like a 6 to 8 week kind of session, and those are more like group classes, but it's all online. And it has all been online even before COVID, which is crazy. So when COVID hit, the company was like, oh, well, this is kind of nice. It doesn't really affect how we're
Yeah.
running things.
We're not changing anything. We're pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so we were well versed in Zoom before anyone else. I felt like the hipster of Zoom.
Yeah, yeah. There were so many people. That's funny you say that. So at that time, let's see, I was teaching middle school math at the time of COVID. But prior to that, in my previous career, I have an engineering background, so I worked at Verizon for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And Zoom was very much a prominent thing, like daily, weekly. We're always on Zoom calls and stuff. So I certainly was very familiar with Zoom, but it was kind of interesting to me when COVID hit, how many people I've met in my demographic, as well as older, as well as younger, that have never heard of Zoom at that point. And I just thought that was fascinating. I was like, wow, I assumed it was a known thing, but I suppose certainly if you never needed to do remote calls, then it makes sense that you would have never heard of it, you know?
Right. Well, and I think Skype still, when people thought of like online chats, online meetings, it was like, oh, Skype, you use Skype.
Yeah.
And then for
Yeah.
anyone who's used Zoom, it's like, you never use Skype. Anyone
Yeah.
who's ever had to do a call, you're like, Skype is the worst.
Right. You're like, no, that could stay right over there. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
You
That's
can use
funny.
it if you'd like.
Right.
I won't touch it. But Google Hangouts, all of those things, it's funny how prevalent it's become and necessary just in like everyday life. I feel like I'm never not planning, even with friends. It's like, oh, if you want to hang out or catch up with one or two college friends, it's like, oh, instead of doing a group FaceTime or something like that, you just
Right.
hop on Zoom now.
Right. Simple. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the transition into Twitch. So into live streaming and bringing your artistry, in a live setting. And so like, how many years ago did that start? And can you like kind of walk us through sort of how you got started with the live streaming thing?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you were saying you were exploring different startup live streaming companies that are coming around now. So I was a member of one or performed on one just kind of for fun in college. It was called Crew. So I was on that for, 6+ months, maybe about a year. I can't even remember now. But it was great because it was very reminiscent, or like to me, it's a lot of what I was appealing to me in Crew is what Twitch has on a more advanced level. And I think the hard thing about startup live streams or startup live streaming apps like that, especially for music, is that it can become insular very quickly, where it's just kind of musicians giving money to other musicians, and it's not exactly sustainable because it's hard to bring other people in.
Yeah.
So that app, I want to say in maybe 2018 or 2017, it was like February, they shut the app down. So I didn't really touch live streaming since then. And so I really did start completely from scratch. And my setup was very different. You know, it was just kind of, oh, I'm live streaming from my phone and I'm playing some songs on a ukulele, and I was just teaching myself guitar. So every once in a while I would pull out the guitar.
Yeah.
So then I was working in New York City for like a year and a half, 2 years. I moved up in like 2019, and then COVID hit, and I was working remotely. I was working with like some producers and a different band up there, just kind of being their roadie. So I was like, I don't really know. I thought I was going to start doing live performances. I'd never really performed as a solo set ever live before. And I still had some friends that, and I think that is a testament to the connection of live streaming and the friendships and the connections you can make with people through live streaming, from crew that were like, you know, I think it's time, Anna. I think you should get back into live streaming and performing online. So I decided to move back, since I was like, I don't need to suffer through a Northeast winter if I don't have to, not another one. So I moved back to Virginia, and by April of this year, I was like, okay, I'll check it out. I'll try it. So this has been, we just like celebrated my 6 months on Twitch.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just been kind of like a whirlwind of a 6 months. Where I just kind of got on, and there were actually like 3 or 4 people that were still following me from my crew days, and they were very invested and involved in the Twitch music community. So I think they were able to kind of connect me with not only other musicians, but other well-known people who were either mods for different streams, or they just also were, you know, like Twitch music is a big part of their life. They go off, you know, like they finish up work, and that's where you hang out with your friends, is you're exploring and finding new music. So that was a great way for me to kind of get introduced to the Twitch world. And then it just kind of grew from there.
That's incredible. That's so cool. I mean, that last bit that you mentioned about sort of the networking component of Twitch, I find that to be just fascinating, about like looking at how important it is to make these connections between musicians as well as between fans of musicians, fans of listening to music. And it's such a, like, in my brief experience, I'm probably like now less than a month of like having a set schedule kind of thing, right? So I'm like very new, kind of figuring things, tweaking the camera, making it try to be just right, and figuring angles and all that good stuff, lighting and everything. But I've had such a fun experience using it so far. And like one of the things that sort of changed everything for me from maybe a few months ago when I first kind of started with it is, back then I was too focused on what I think a lot of new streamers focus on, which is the view count. And I'm looking there, and that kind of dictates my energy level, so to speak, right? Of whether or not I'm like, oh shoot, someone's there, let me go ahead and do this now, and oh, no one's there, let me kind of just practice or do whatever. And it was not as fun as it is now, which is now I deactivate, right, the view counter, because I don't look at that at all, and I just go into it now with a setting of me it's just me in the machine, me and the music, until I see people interacting. And when that happens, then of course there begins the interaction of, you know, talking and answering questions and things like that. But even I think one of the things I was kind of challenged with, you know, a little bit was like when there is no one in the stream, when you're first getting started, like it felt weird at a time talking to no one. But the flip side now, as I have like a YouTube channel, which is my YouTube channel is my sort of home base where I first started making content and things like that. That's where this conversation is going to live. And I have 73 other episodes and running, you know, on this series. I would say that, what was the point I was going to make? The content that I create on Twitch, I've seen other producers and other musicians, and I'm sure, you know, a lot of people, I think even yourself, I've seen you have your YouTube channel as well. You can repurpose the content, and then it turns into a thing where it doesn't matter if anyone is or is not there to start with. Like you can still create valuable content that you can then repurpose to other platforms and stuff. So it's like all like a learning process, I would say, but I've been certainly enjoying it so far.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a huge point that you just made, is that um, not only is it something that's mentally affecting you looking at this viewer count, but there is this shift where then you kind of see your energy level shifting when it's like, oh, it's not, there's, 5 people in here, there's 10 people in here. It's like, oh, only 3 people are talking right now. There's only 10 people talking right now, like in the chat. And that, I think, also is a huge thing. Just being like, you do, just as if you were in a live show, there is a part where it's like you really need your energy level not to be how many people are in the room. It's how many people am I connecting with in live time. And then after that, how can I make sure that, well, I am giving them time and attention, and we are making connections and friendships there and strengthening our connections. How am I connecting to my music still? And it's, if anything, it's a little bit harder than a live performance, like out in a coffee shop or something, because people, are talking, they're drinking their coffee, they're eating their food, or if you're performing at any larger venue, they're loving the ambience, the atmosphere that they're in, so that you can go, all right, they're settled, like they are stimulated enough, and I'm just going to keep playing my music and focus in on how much I enjoy performing. So you need to kind of have that mixture of both, so that you can go back and look at that content and be like, oh, this is a great clip, like I can tell I was really enjoying myself here. Here we go, like now I can just clip that up and post that to YouTube. Like, this was a live performance of me singing this song, as well as looking back and going, this was a great conversation that we had. This is a great point. Maybe I want to expand on this later and have a conversation during my next live stream about that.
That makes a ton of sense. Would you say that in terms of scheduling, I've heard very many people talk about the importance of having a schedule and sticking to it, right? So like we talked about earlier, being a part of people's lives and routines. So would you say that, because I guess I'll ask the question this way. When you have a schedule, we know what the pros are, but I feel like potentially, in my experience at least, like the cons can be that if you are not mentally, like feeling that creative or feeling that energetic and feeling that excited to stream in that particular moment at that particular day, versus say the next day, where the next day you're feeling great and you're feeling creative and you're just like, oh, let me go ahead and just hop on a live right now. Do you think and the energy produced there and like the actual stream is going to be more energetic and stuff? Do you think that there is something to say about the balance between having a set schedule that may not be 3 days a week, but maybe it's 2 days a week, and then maybe have one sort of floating day where, oh, you're feeling creative and you have time now, of course, go ahead and hop on live and just kind of see how it goes?
I would say it's all about balance, and I think it does depend on the person. The unfortunate thing is that I do think it also depends on how long or how established that community already is as well. But I've done all of the above. I've played around with all of it. And yeah, at the beginning, there is something to say, like if you're trying to stream five days a week, 5 to 7, then people see you so much, they never get a chance to miss you. If you stream 2 days a week, then I would say like once a week, then people see you and then they have 6 days to forget about you in the beginning. And then if they happen to see your stream again, that's great. If not, it's not the end of the world, because it's only once a week. Versus 2 to 3 times seems to be kind of the sweet spot, because then it's like if you miss a stream, that's okay, because like sometime later in the week you're gonna catch another one. But I tried to do 4 to 5 times a week, and there is burnout, and people would be able to tell. They would message me afterwards and be like, "Are you okay? Like, you definitely seemed a little down." That I think, having a floating day is great.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, though, is just communication with people, like with your regular viewers, letting them know where you're at, because no matter what, a shift in a schedule without giving them any reasoning, it would be the same thing as if you're hanging out with friends and you're like, yeah, I'm totally going to do this. And then you just don't even text them and tell them, I'm not going to show up for lunch today. Then you're just standing up people who have invested time and energy and potentially money in you as well. But the other nice thing about this community is that they're very understanding, right? So if you go, yeah, I'm going to do 2 days and this is the floater day, Friday, today it's Friday, I'm feeling really great, I'm going to hop on. They love surprises. I think that's better than potentially going, yeah, I'm going to stream 3 days a week and then always canceling one every single week.
Wow.
It's much better for a surprise, like a bonus stream, rather than looking forward to it all day only to have your favorite streamer not show up.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. That makes a ton of sense to me. I think that gets you like the best of both worlds. I'm doing 3 right now. I didn't even think about, until you and I are having this conversation, I didn't even think about the idea of taking one out and having one floater day where I can absolutely 100% pretty much commit to at least one random stream per week, just in terms of right now, how things are going on in my life. Side note, in the future, in about 6 months, my wife and I are expecting our first child. And so
Congratulations. That's so
thank
exciting.
you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, super, super, super excited. I'm going to have to cut this out of the video depending on when this gets released, but that's okay because we didn't share with everyone yet.
Okay.
But so you're in the elite few right now. Congratulations. But no, that makes a ton of sense, and I love the idea that I want to go to communication. So one of the other things as a new person in this space that I see almost everyone on Twitch, definitely on Twitch, and then even people who are on Twitch and other platforms, or even just other platforms like YouTube and stuff, the reliance of, and I was just reading an article just yesterday, and it just kind of shook everything for me. I was talking to my dad yesterday. I was like, Dad, yeah, I read this article yesterday, and it completely changed everything for me. And he was like laughing. He's like, how can an article change everything for you? I was like, well, maybe that's a bit of exaggeration, but I mean, what I'm saying is that it's super impactful, I think. And it was just talking about email marketing, and it was talking about how important it is to have a way to communicate directly with people versus relying on the Twitters and Instagrams and Facebooks of the world, which we know algorithms, put stuff out and everyone's not going to see it. As a matter of fact, only a small percentage. So Discord is an important thing, right?
Right.
Would you say that? So I just created a Discord. I'm in the process of doing, like, understanding it. I have no idea what's going on, these hashtags and these channels and what I don't know what's going on. I'm very confused, but I'm getting there slowly but surely. Can you give us, like, me and everyone else who may not know about it, just a high level on like what it is and why it is important, like, for you and your workflow in terms of communicating with your regular viewers?
Yeah. The best way to describe it for me is Discord is like having a social media platform and an email list, like, wrapped into one, and it's very specific to your biggest fans or your closest friends.
Okay.
So Discord has all of these channels, and basically you set it up, right? You can decide how many different tabs there are, how many different channels there are. And basically you invite someone, and there's like different feeds that you can go through. So if your general feed is just anyone talking about anything, and then you have your announcement feed where you can literally just send out a blast notification to everybody and say, hey, I'm live now. So then no one has to check 6 different platforms to see what you're up to. They subscribe to your notifications, they get a blast, and it says, I'm going live, here's the link, and you can click it right away. Wow. But on another level, it's not just whenever you're live, it's any exciting updates, right? You then suddenly become this, you know, it's more like a not a club. What am I trying to say? You know, like when you're a patron or something like that, you get the, not secret content. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I
Like
do.
the-
Yeah. Additional stuff that everyone else who's not subscribed
Yeah, right,
may be
right.
privy of.
Right. So it's like, I guess maybe behind the scenes. Like you're saying all of the behind the scenes, you get the first look at merch, you get the first look at songs coming out. And then you don't really have to worry about it, you know, someone on Instagram seeing it when you don't want them to see it, or Facebook when it's not fully ready. These are the people that are happy to see it at whatever level it's being developed.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then it is a great way, I think, the step above. Here's the pro and con of Discord, right? So the pro is that it's a little bit more advanced than a mailing list, because if someone is a good or a big fan and you send out something and you go, here's the update, even if you do a weekly or monthly blast email to everybody and you say, here's the update, this is what I'm looking to do in the next month, I have a song coming out, I have, you know, this fundraiser that I'm doing to raise money for my album. Sometimes people can respond, but a lot of times if I'm on a mailing list, I don't really feel the need to respond back and go, how exciting, you know, because a lot of times you can't even do that. So there's a lack of that connection there. There's a little bit of, this is the level of, you've already proven that you support me by being added to this list. So now when I send out anything, I'm just expecting you to absorb it and then not speak to me again, you know, or speak to me on a different platform. Versus Discord, you can do that and they can respond and you can have a whole conversation afterwards of them going, I'm so excited for this project that you're doing or the song. And it can lead to other conversations and strengthen that, so that the next time that you give them a notification about a fundraiser that you're doing or merch that you're releasing or a song that you're releasing, they're more likely to be invested in that and do more, share the song, buy the merch, buy the t-shirt. But the con of it really is that it's a younger platform. So if you have older family, older friends, or people who aren't, you know, like I only got a Discord and figured out about it because I joined Twitch. You just got a Discord because you figured out about it and you're now on Twitch. That there are people that are like, it's another thing I have to learn how to use. I don't want to use it. But for the people who are there, you know, like then you realize that there's so many different uses for it. Some people use it for whole communities and it becomes like what Facebook pages used to be, where it's like, or the Facebook groups. You know, a lot of people have it just for it's their personal friends gaming Discord server. So you could be like, oh yeah, this is, all of us are going to play Call of Duty. And so then I can hop on and be like, hey guys, I'm playing if anyone wants to hop on. So like that's kind of where it started, and it still has a lot to go, like a lot of growth to be had for people to become more active on it.
Wow, that was extremely helpful to hear about the pros and cons. And I think the con that you just mentioned too about the demographic of user on that platform, does that suggest, because this was going to be like the next question I ask in terms of like people that, the regulars that say join your Twitch streams, do you have people that are your people that know you as you versus know you as the performer, have met you like much later in life and became privy of you through your music and stuff? Do you have like the old friends and family and those people that also that you'll see on the platform on Twitch and stuff like that join? And the reason I asked that question specifically is because I've learned that there's an interesting dynamic when it comes to like you becoming a content creator or a musician and kind of having an online presence, where sometimes, right, the people that have met you later don't know, they know me as Khordmaster, right?
Right.
Friends and family know me as Kevin, and sometimes there's like you have certain people in certain instances where it's hard for them to give you that like respect or that wow, like this is, or that not even credit, but just that sort of acknowledgement that what you're doing
Yeah.
is good and it's uplifting and things like that. So have you like encountered anything like that? And then the other question was like, yeah, do you have like family and stuff that will sometimes like hop in and that you see like on the live streams and stuff? And how do you like get them to join? Is that like a separate like, oh, let me send email to these aunts and uncles and family members who are never going to join Discord kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. And I think it is important to I don't know, to put them in different categories. Because a lot of people, especially when they're starting out in content creation or just like music in general, you're thinking about now the word is super fan, right? Someone who is no matter what, and it's not a bad term either. You know, a super fan is someone who no matter what is going to share your stuff, is going to support you, is going to hop onto a stream, is going to do all the like, you know, random stuff that you ask, you know, and not in a weird obsessed way, just I really like this artist and I support it, you know. Like I would be a John Mayer super fan, I would buy a John Mayer t-shirt, I would buy the album, I would go to a concert, right? Or Bon Iver super fan or anything like that.
I saw you post something about it the other day on a story. I think was a limited edition something,
yes,
right?
It was a limited edition vinyl to celebrate like a 10-year anniversary. He is one of my biggest like music inspirations. You know, I'm just a huge fan of Justin Vernon. But that would be me, right? That's probably better than John Mayer's super fan. He would be one of those soul people that I would, you know, support on a variety of different levels. Your family will never be a super fan. Your close friends and your family can never be in that super fan category because there is a bias, right? And there's always not an ulterior motive, but there's a different motive. That is your family. And so I'm motivated on a different level to support, you know, a friend that has released a song than I'm for an artist that I recently discovered on Twitch or on Spotify that has just released a song. There's a different connection there. And there's also a different feeling of obligation, you know? So if a friend releases a song, I might be motivated to share and to buy merch. Do I feel obligated to hop on to every stream? No, because I know that I'm supporting them by giving them my love and my support in personal matters too, you know, like if they had an issue going on, I would text them and we could talk about it that way. But it's just never what I've discovered, and kind of what the industry talks about is that they can't really be in the same category. So I do, you know, when I release music, I'll blast things out to close friends and to aunts and uncles and stuff, and just make it personal as if it was anything where it's a big life update for friends and family, but it's never, you know, like, oh, because I know you like my music so much, you know, versus something like Discord or a mailing list. That's when I would, you know, that's just to anybody who I know supports me on a different level. And you can't really expect that. So I'm never offended. I have 5 siblings, and I think one of them has hopped on a stream once. They've heard me talk and they've heard me sing every day for 18 years. They're probably very, very tired of hearing my voice. So I'm never offended by that. But every once in a while I will have them hop on, or they'll join the Discord and be like, I don't really know what this is, but like, I'll join it for you. And I have friends that do the same thing. I have friends that hop on the stream and they're like, I don't really go on Twitch for any other reason than to listen to you for a little bit and just kind of lurk in the background. And, you know, that's enough, because I know, you know, those are your friends. It's like, I know you've got other things going on in your life. Like, I'm never going to be like, you don't support me enough, you should support me more, you know?
Right.
So a long-winded answer to that. Sorry.
Nah, that's really, really, that was very eloquently put. And I'm just thinking, like, anytime I have these conversations, and I always think about the moments in the chat that are profound and that are just well put. And that was definitely, not to say your other stuff wasn't, because everything was great so far. That was really good. That was powerful, and vulnerable and honest, sort of, and relatable, I should say too. Like relatable, like that makes a lot of sense. Knowing that that when you first start, I guess your expectations, my expectations at least, were different than they are now, as I've had more time branding myself and understanding those dynamics, those very dynamics that you just mentioned. So I think anyone listening to this who maybe is just starting with their online presence can definitely take value in that exact bit that you just shared there.
Yeah.
Would you say, like, social media? Do you have any issues with social media? Like, do you have any problems in terms of knowing that we need to have a presence on there, doing the things that we're doing, but also knowing that sometimes it may affect you in terms of, like, taking, like, we provide content onto the platform, but then we also consume content as well. And so do you ever find yourself kind of challenged a little bit with the process of not of using it to sort of better yourself and of course support others, but not like overdoing it in terms of consuming stuff that's taking valuable time out of your day?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I have a variety. I have so many issues with social media, as I think, most people should. But it's very difficult, because I think you get sucked up into the content consuming, and then the content creation, and then the content comparison, right?
Yeah.
And all three of those things take different levels of energy from you. And so I've always had a hard time, especially with things like Instagram, because Instagram is becoming, and it always has been, so important with people who are looking to, gain a following, because it's a combination of everything now, right? You have live streaming, you have stories, you have a feed, you post videos, and you have to exude this vibe. And I think that there's something that is so fake about it, and it has to be fake. It has to be curated, which is, I have a big issue with, only because I try as much as possible, especially on my streams, to make things as authentic as I can, and let people know this is exactly what my life is like. It is very boring. I sit in this room for hours and hours a day. I don't go out and do a bunch of things. I'm basically a grandmother in a younger body. I like puzzles, and I like watching true crime, and I, that's about it, And so then to have this feed where I'm supposed to make life glamorous or make it look so aesthetic and so cool, I think all these artists kind of struggle with that, because then it takes away from the time that you could be making music. And I think that was kind of, and continues to be my biggest issue, is that now I find it fun to grow in photography and find pictures and take pictures of things that I enjoy and that I find beauty in. But it takes so much time to edit videos and to do all of that. And I'm like, that's not my expertise. My expertise is writing music and, trying to produce it and performing it for people. So I think time management ends up being a very big issue for a lot of people, myself included. But I mean, it really is very important at the same time as artists in this day and age to allow people to have something, because you are no longer just a person. You are someone who is providing comfort in one way or another to another human being listening to your stuff or watching your stuff. And so what sets you apart from somebody else? Why am I providing comfort? Why am I providing pleasure to someone? Like, why do they like my music? And what do they see? What do they hear? Like, you have to kind of make it an immersive experience so that when they check your Twitter or check your Instagram or your Facebook or your Spotify profile, that is all cohesive. You seem like the same person from one platform to another.
Right.
And so there is a bit of like, you do owe that to your followers and to your fans, to be consistent and to be an image to them, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this big made up fake thing, you know?
Yeah, that authenticity part that you mentioned definitely resonated too, because I think it is very, I mean, I know that it's very rare to see that. And when you do see some sense of authenticity, and I think streaming and being live is interesting because it kind of allows viewers to get an opportunity to see how authentic someone is, because it's harder to fake things when you're live. Whereas if if you don't do anything live and people know you as, you know, your Instagram profile and your YouTube channel, and they're heavily edited and all that kind of stuff, then it becomes a thing, like you said, where it's, you know, it's harder to portray that realness, you know, about you, for sure. I would say that, like, the social media thing, I forget who it was that I was talking to, probably on an episode when I was recording, or maybe a conversation I was having, but they said that Sundays are the day that they don't go on social media and even don't even go on their phone. As a matter of fact, it was a contractor that was at the house doing some work who happened to be a social media, have a social media agency kind of thing where he helps people brand themselves and stuff, of all things. Yeah, which was very cool. It was like relatable, so we were able to talk about some things, and he shared some, you know, some good advice and stuff. But he mentioned that him and his wife like put their phones away unless it was like an important business call or whatever. And so yesterday I did that. Not so much as put my phone away, but just like made it a point to any moment where I felt like my vices are the Instagrams of the world, and YouTube Studio, like looking at like the subscriber count. Those are my vices, where like I'll go through seasons where I'm like feeling terrible about myself because I've swiped down 50 times in a day, where I'm like, why the hell am I doing this? And then there's times where I'm like on it, where I'm like, I am not going, like sometimes I'll delete it from my phone, right, and only have it on my iPad so I can't check it physically. But yesterday was a day where, I took every time that I felt like I wanted to check it, and after like a couple hours in the morning, it just kind of became like a thing where I wasn't even thinking about it. But I do think it takes effort to be able to kind of get control over something that is doing everything in its power, as a lot of us know, to not let us have control over how often we are checking. Like, they are doing so much right behind the scenes and all that. And you mentioned, did you mention you studied psychology?
Yes, I did.
So this is like a psychological thing going on, right, with everything about what they're doing to like keep us, you know, on the apps and everything like that. But I think it's sometimes good, for me at least, to like hear from others like you and other people who have a presence on you know, on social media, and just their content and their brand building in general, to just kind of understand and learn about what are some of the challenges that they have, and what are some of the things that they've done to kind of mitigate that a little bit, because we all are all human, for sure, and it's only you know, some of these things are not so much in our control as we realize, so it does take, you know, a lot of effort and stuff to get control of them.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things, it's a new feature on Instagram, but it's helped me immensely, is turning off the like count. So it takes extra effort to go and see how many people like your photos. Because what people also don't realize, like you said, Instagram and other social media platforms, they make it so that it is nearly impossible to stop scrolling, to stop looking, to stop checking. But they also, because of that, one of the ways that they do that is changing up the algorithm constantly. So every few months they do, and they tweak like the algorithm slightly. So before, Instagram used to just be, your feed was chronological order, and now all platforms have kind of changed that, so that it's just random. And so depending on what you've looked at, what you've clicked at before, which accounts you've checked the most, it changes which feeds pop up. So that a lot of times you're going to be like, oh, I didn't even realize I was still following this person, and now their post comes up. So then you're like, well, let me keep scrolling. Let me see if somebody else new pops up. And because of that, though, your like count, a lot of people have realized that the like count in the past few years has decreased significantly because people aren't seeing you as much. So it's not that people have stopped liking you, it's that they haven't seen you in 5 months, and then they'll see you again in, 5 more. So I turned that off. I mean, I've even been shamed by people being like, well, how come you didn't get as many likes on this and you have more followers, but this person isn't even a musician and they have more likes than you? And I'm like, I can't spend my time trying to create content that the sole purpose of it is to get more likes, It can be exposure. I think exposure is a good goal to have on any platform. But still, that can really, it's a slippery slope, right? I've done that on the same thing, just like swiping down. How many people have liked? How many people have seen the YouTube video? Like how many people have seen the new Twitch video? And it's just toxic,
It is. Yeah.
And it's so hard when, to some extent, it's still important. So yeah, I think doing things like taking the app off for a day, or, making a point where I'm going to go on, I'm going to post, once I make the post, I'm going to respond to a few people so that it helps with the algorithm, but I'm not going to check anybody's likes. I'm not going to check how many people are doing anything. It's, you kind of just have to be like this, I'm hopping on for business, and then I'm hopping on for, mindless doom scrolling, or I'm hopping on for, to stalk somebody that I haven't seen in like 6 years. And then you're like wondering, do they have kids? Are they married?
Right.
What are they doing? A random girl that I've seen in 5th grade and I haven't seen since, that they all have their different times.
That's for sure. All right, I'm going to ask one more question about Twitch, and then just a couple rapid fire questions just about you. So your audience, I think this will be actually great for your viewers and super fans and family and others to just learn a little bit more about you. So last question is for Twitch. Actually, 2 more quick questions. First of all, the importance of, like, once you become an affiliate and you have the ability to get these emotes, how important would you say getting emotes is when you do have that affiliate status? And do you have any recommendations for people who don't have graphic design skills, like how to find someone to make 5 emotes that are good that people are going to want to use?
Absolutely. I think they're very important because, one, becoming partner, the gap between the requirements to be an affiliate versus the requirements to be a partner are huge, right? So you need to do what you can with the affiliate status, because the affiliate is the most important. I would say, like partner, it's cool, but the more that you look into it, it's like, yeah, that's something great that you can strive for, but affiliate, you can do so much. And the emotes are really cool because, again, it goes into creating that brand and creating that connection with your fans, so that when they have those emotes, it's like that's an extension of you in whatever weird way. It's your first step of merch. It's something that they're using on other people's chats, which I think people forget about, is that, I have one where it's just my dog, and it says hype underneath it. And people use it on other chats, and people are like, that's a cute dog. And once you scroll over it, you can see which Twitch account it's associated with.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I know I've done that where I'm like, oh, the emote that someone keeps using in this chat is so freaking cute. I almost want to go and subscribe to someone. And I've done that so that I can get the cute emotes,
Wow. Okay.
It's like a sticker pack, and so I think I wouldn't do it until you have certain things connected to your stream, or if you do, just like plan on maybe replacing them down the line, right? People know my dog, so I use that. People have met my dad because I had this one crazy raid, and so it's called like Ada Dad or whatever, and it's my dad giving a thumbs up. So when people do that, and one time, I speak really fast. I fumble with my words. So before I even had a graphic designer, I went in and did this little Photoshop thing because I was like, thank you for the gift scrub. And so then people associated me with a scrub cap.
Okay.
So that's different ways where suddenly people are in on the joke and they get it.
Okay.
And it keeps them connected with you. You can, let me preface this. My scrub cap emote was awful. It was terrible. It was very gross looking. It was just very poorly done. But people liked it because I tried my best. But
Oh, you made that one?
I made that one. I literally just cropped out. I went on and found a PNG of a little scrub cap and then just wrote gift on it or something.
Okay.
But even when it was gone, people were like, can we still have that?
Yeah.
Because
I
then
want
it was
that.
just proof of how awful you are at graphic design. So then my tip for emotes is go on Fiverr. It's 5 with 2 R's. For people who are unfamiliar, you can, and it's great even if you want Twitch overlays. There's a lot of people, and you just go on, you basically search up what you're looking for. So if you just went Twitch emotes, there's a lot of graphic designers on there, and they'll do things for relatively cheap, depending on who you have. But again, these are artists, it's their work. So as musicians, as content creators, we should be able to support other people in their work as well.
For sure.
But even having friends, I have a little sister who's getting into graphic design. And so she drew up one of my merch symbols, and it's this sad mushroom. And so then that's something that I've been able to support her with, and people have been able to do. And that was just using Procreate on an iPad.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
you can just kind of look on there, if you post on Instagram, and just, any graphic designers that are looking for something, and then you can support friends who are trying to break into it. But yeah, Fiverr is filled with really great artists who do things at a set price. So then what you're looking for. You can tell them exactly what you're thinking of for these little stickers or emotes. And they have set, a lot of them, it's a set style, the same way that a lot of artists have a set style when they draw things. So you can just be I like this style of how you draw. Can you just make this one me and change my hair and the color of my t-shirt? And they'll do it.
Gotcha. All right. That's great to know. Yeah, I definitely want to get on that. I did not realize about I knew that you can use it in other people's streams, but I didn't know that that was a thing where people may see something that's really attractive or interesting or eye-popping, and oh, let me see who this is. And oh, that's Khordmaster. Who is Khordmaster? Oh, he's the master of chords. Let me check, that type of thing. So that's
you could
that's pretty...
right. You could even just do a set of piano keys and
right.
So there's also, that's something for people to learn on Twitch, is that there's so much Twitch lingo, right? I did not know poggers was a phrase that people use when they're excited. So I was like, what are people trying to tell me? When they would put it. But there's hype train. So hype is used a lot. If you're raiding someone, a raid emote is super simple. So those types of things are great, because then as you're trying to figure out what you really want your design to be, you can just do your play on all of these different words, these buzzwords, because then as you go into other people's chats and you use these emotes, they're ones that people like because they also can relate to it. It's not just inside jokes. It's something that they could use at any time. Keys, piano keys that say raid on them, or chord raid, people are oh, that's super cool. I would want that,
That's dope. I'm so on that today. All right. Well, first of all, how much do I owe you for this Twitch consultation? That's the first question. That's what we need. That's what we need to know. This is super, super helpful. All right. So I want to ask a few rapid fire questions, and we'll go for maybe about 5 more minutes, and then I'll give you back the rest of your day, your lovely day today. Do you have a stream going on later today, did you say?
I do. I have a stream at 5, and I have a few lessons today, so I'll be...
Oh, wow.
I'm doing all the things today.
Doing it all. You're doing it all. Okay. All right. Awesome. I would say that I would make every effort to join your stream, but I know that I will not be able to make today's because I have more interviews starting at 5 to about 9 to about 10:30 tonight, actually.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah. So it's going to be rapid fire. But I hope it goes well, and I'll definitely be seeing you in many subsequent ones for sure.
Of course.
If not for any other reason aside for exposure, just kidding.
Do it. Milk it. Also,
That's
on my
all?
Discord, I do have a channel just for when people go live.
Oh, good to know.
So
okay.
anytime
Discord
you
channel.
go live, just like hop in there and post your link so that everyone sees it and we can all click over.
Oh, that's dope. All right. So that's another thing. Is that if you have that type of channel, then that's what it's for. But is there any etiquette, any like specific etiquette for? I mean, obviously, if I don't know if I think I may have. I'm not sure if I'm in your channel. Is that the right phrase? In your channel?
I think it's in your. I'm
still learning.
very much a Discord noob, but I think it's your server because it's
server.
A server that you get on, and then all the different tabs along the side, those are all channels. So that's the only etiquette, is that the channels all have different purposes, right?
Okay.
So general is like anything that doesn't have a channel associated with it, you know? So if you're just like, oh, what is everybody up to today? You know, like it's just like where everyone dumps things. But there's like a pet one. There's a food one where you could be like, I ate something really good today. Here's a picture of it. You know, like that type of thing.
Got you.
So then it's fellow streamers, I believe is what it's called. So the only etiquette is just post a link there instead of the general. So the etiquette is just keep things organized, essentially.
Keep it organized. Good to know.
But yeah.
Okay.
You could stream 4 times in a day, and it doesn't matter. Just like post it all in there.
Yeah. And whoever's free, whoever wants to, check out someone new or whatever, they'll. Okay, good to know. Okay, so let's see what the first question one is. So I like the question of asking not what is your favorite movie or what is your favorite TV show, but I want to know what is a movie and a TV show that you love.
That is a great way of phrasing it.
Thank you. A
movie and a TV show. And still, I have a hard time answering. A TV show that I really like, and I really always like tell people to watch it, is Newsroom. Got 3 seasons. It's on HBO.
Okay.
I
haven't heard of it.
I always enjoy it. It's got he was in Dumb and Dumber, not Jim Carrey, but the other guy, Jeff Daniels.
Okay. Yep.
But he's very serious in this one. It's comedic, but it also followed. It's written by Aaron Sorkin. This is spiel. I'm so sorry, but it is based off of like actual news events that happened at the time that the show was running. So then they're playing like this actual newsroom and trying to cover the news instead of just things that would grab people's attention. And so then it was always this thing like, how do you cover the news and not worry about ratings and viewers and all of these things, but they do it in a very, very interesting and appealing way. So
wow, HBO. Okay, I'll definitely have to check that out. That sounds like something that I would be more interested in because it seems like it's smart humor kind of thing and clever, and I feel like there's just so many shows out there. Like I just was watching I love 60 Minutes. I watch 60 Minutes all the time. I love getting those stories and stuff. Man, there was a story on 60 Minutes. This sounds so. I mean, there's so many crazy stories, but there's a thing I believe it's called free diving, and there's this sport of people who dive underwater, and they're holding their breath with no equipment, no nothing, just like a little what looks like clothespin on their nose for like 3 to 5 minutes straight. I'm like, I didn't think humans could do that. How are we able? Like, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It blew my mind completely. But I say that to say, yeah, there's like commercials while watching 60 Minutes of like The Equalizer with Queen Latifah and all these shows. I'm like, I will never watch 90%, 95% of it just because I don't have the time to. It might be amazing, but I am so hesitant on recommendations because the feeling of watching something and then me not enjoying it, I feel so devastated about those 2 hours. Like we just watched Candyman just now. the new one with, because I love Jordan Peele. I love like Get Out. That was one of my favorite movies of all time. I loved it. Such an amazing movie. I'm probably overdue about rewatching it again because it's been like a year. And I was so excited for Candyman, and we watched it. And I was like, what in the world? I was like, this is pretty terrible. Now, that's just my opinion. My wife and I, we both watched it. We both didn't like it. Someone else could watch it, maybe love it. But I felt so bad afterwards. I was like, man, I could have been playing Smash Brothers or like learning Discord.
And it makes me feel terrible when I give recommendations and then you watch the first episode with them and you forget how slow shows are in like the pilot or the first 3 episodes, and you're like, just promise me you'll watch like 3 episodes, but then you're like asking for a much larger investment than like 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
Right.
Then it's like you're telling them to sit down and watch an hour's worth of a movie. It's so I feel bad about that, but sometimes it's worth it. We made my mom watch Game of Thrones, and she hated the first 2 or 3 episodes. But we literally, like my dad, we locked them in, and we're like, you need to invest this time because it'll be worth it. And by the like 3rd episode, she came out, like opened my door because I was visiting with them, and she was like, okay, you were right. I'm absolutely hooked. It was really funny. Speaking, I will say a movie real quick because now I'm curious what you thought about it, because I enjoyed Us that Jordan Peele did. Mm-hmm. Did you not like it? Because a lot of people had mixed feelings about it.
Definitely. So I loved Get Out. I was enthralled with Us throughout the entire movie, which I guess in that sense of the word, meaning like I was on the edge of my seat the whole entire time. I was very, very interested in it.
Yeah.
I guess the aspect that I didn't enjoy as much about it is that when Get Out ended, it was that twist moment. It was that sort of, I understood what they were trying to say.
Yeah.
With Us, I still don't understand what, if anything, maybe they weren't trying to say anything. Maybe it was just a edge of your seat movie. Someone said it's about class system and this and that. I didn't really see that. I didn't understand what point they were trying to make, but I did enjoy the movie though.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. And I feel like they had to have had a meaning though, because he never does anything without like having, and so. I've seen it like twice. And there's always those parallels, like especially in the beginning, like the thing with the Frisbee and all of these numbers, there was a lot of mirrored things where it was like, you know, doppelgangers essentially. I don't know. My biggest guess or my best guess would be, and maybe now we're just doing it because we've been talking about social media and how we think that we have free will and we don't, but maybe that's simply what it is. People have just become so mindless that it's like someone was trying to break through that mold of, you know, just being like, I'm not going to just do what somebody else tells me to do. But
that makes a lot more sense than anything else that I've read. I haven't looked extensively, but I haven't seen that. But that does make a lot more sense though.
Yeah,
like, especially with the climate that we're in.
We can just say that I've looked into it and that's the answer.
Yeah. I like it. I'm completely with it. Completely. All right, so musical influences. You mentioned, I was gonna say Bon Iver, but it's how did you pronounce it again?
Bon Iver.
Bon Iver. Okay.
Yeah.
I found out about him through one of my. I don't know if you can see it or not. I don't know if it's cut off or whatever. But over here, you probably can't see it.
No, I can see it.
Can you? Can you see like the poster?
I can see the poster. I see that there's different squares in the poster.
Little stuff on it. Okay, because I can't see it on mine, but it's because I have a different format up there. But that's Kanye West's like discography, like all of his albums.
Yeah.
And so when I found out about Bon Iver, did I say it right? Mm-hmm. I think so. Good. It was on his My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy album,
right? Because he sampled Up in the Woods, right?
Yes, and he's on I think at least 2 songs on there. He's on Monster. He's the person that sings at the beginning of that song Monster, and I just love that song. And but I haven't listened to a lot of his other work, but it sounded like he is one of, if not your main musical influences and like people that you really love everything he does. Yeah.
I mean, there's very little that I could say, oh, I don't like what he did, because even with Kanye, it was like he was able to integrate his style while still being true to Kanye's, which when you listen to his stuff, it's super like, I mean, it can be big, but a lot of it is that indie, soft, ambient. He creates such a cool soundscape, and the fact that he can stay in that lane while working with Kanye and producing his tracks, because I think he's helped out maybe on a few other albums too, but especially that one he had a hand in producing. I just think that that's so cool. But I grew up listening to a lot of singer-songwriters like John Mayer, Sarah Bareilles, so definitely have influences there. Big fan of the vocoder, so I do like Imogen Heap. But yeah, I would say those three are kind of like the top musical influences. Once you listen to my music, you hear a lot of that from those three artists.
Love that. Singer-songwriter question, just a bit of a sidebar. So as someone who produces, I make music and I'm like, oh, I would love to be able to freestyle or rap over this because I think it would sound crazy good, but I'm horrible at it. I never can think of rhyming words ever, which is why whenever my wife comes in here and I'm like, oh, Jess, check this out. And then I start like flowing, but it's never like actual words. It's like just kind of like sounds kind of thing.
Right.
But to me, it still sounds interesting. But I've kind of discovered something the other day. I don't know. I'm sure in the singer-songwriter world, it's extremely common. But I kind of like discovered like music on here. If I take out the fact that this song, these words that I'm saying have to rhyme. So take out the rhyming thing, but put in the telling a story and like harmonizing what I'm singing and what I'm saying over what's being heard, sonically. That is, I don't know the name of the style or what that's called exactly, but that is something that I've been having just the most amount of fun with. Like when people join Twitch and join like one of my Twitch streams and they follow me or something, and I'm like, I'm already playing something and I can incorporate how I'm feeling with their name and stuff. I'm like,
Right.
This is mad fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe that would just be like free form, it's
Okay.
but I love that stuff. I think it's typically when I write now, there is something so restricting about being like, yeah, you just have to rhyme. And while people do like uniform, for a passive listener to hop on, live streaming is different, but like hop on Spotify or something and listen, I think it's a little bit harder for them to follow along the first time, just because our brains are so trained to hear that repetition and listen for a form. But especially when writing, I always say the rhyme's going to come after. So you write everything and you just let that creativity go, because otherwise you're like stuck in a pattern and you end up saying the same words in every song, right? Because you know that those words rhyme. So I'm always like, if I really like one line, then I'll go back and be like, okay, how can I rhyme with this line? Or change the last word so that my story remains the same and I'm not sacrificing my story just for a word,
Right. Right.
But I love that. I think that that's so great. I wish I was better at it. Now my brain like does a little bit more rhyming than I think I'm comfortable with when I try and like freestyle like that. I'm like, I naturally go for rhyming, but when I'm like writing, I'll definitely try and keep rhyming out of the equation.
Yeah. Love it. All right, 2 more quick questions. What was the first one? I had a good one in my mind. It might come back to me.
Okay.
So we'll ask the other one first, and then we'll come back to the other one. So the second question I was going to ask is if you have a chance to go to a brunch with someone,
Okay.
spanning the course of time, like living or dead, and separate person, because it might be a different person, if you have a chance to go to dinner. Because like I look at like dinner like more like a little more civilized. Maybe there's like a glass of wine, but brunch you might be like turning up or something like that,
Yeah.
So like who would you like to sit down with and like have just that type of one-on-one with?
Right. Like, who would I want to have bottomless mimosas with? And then who would I want to
Exactly.
have, like, a nice, expensive bottle of red wine with like, a steak dinner?
Exactly. That's right.
Like, I feel terrible that I'm like, okay, which alcohol would I want to drink with this person?
That's exactly what you said, though.
Yeah,
So,
it is. That's such a good question. You're so good at these, like, they're the typical questions, but with a twist.
Thank you.
They're very good. which is super funny. Going back, tying it into songwriting. That's always what I tell people. I'm like, write something that everybody knows, but in a different way. You know, because you want experiences that people can relate to, but you got to say it differently than the past 100 people have said it.
It makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
So, I would say I would like to have brunch. Who's gonna make me laugh the most? I think I would want to have brunch with. I'm like thinking of historical characters, and I'm like, they don't have to be historical.
Yeah, not necessarily. Yeah, and we can even make it just people living too. Make it easier.
I know.
That was the original question the original way that I framed the question. So yeah, keep it lighthearted. You know, don't keep it lighthearted. Don't stressing.
I think I would want to have brunch with. Can it be a couple? I want it to be Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, just because every time I see them, like on social media or whatever, they are like the funniest people, and they have the funniest relationship. And so I would want to like make sure, I know they say like don't meet your heroes, but like I don't think they're at that level. But I would want to sit down and be like, can you guys make me laugh as hard as your like Instagram posts like roasting each other do?
Wait, can you remind me who Blake Lively is? Because I know Ryan Reynolds for sure. I think of Deadpool and think of him and his. I know how funny he is, but I'm not sure. I don't know who Blake Lively is.
So Blake Lively, she's his wife, but she's like this tall blonde. Was in Gossip Girl. She was in that movie with Anna Kendrick, like the not Knives Out, but I'm gonna look it up. She's also in like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I feel like your wife might know who she is.
Okay, but she's his wife. I didn't realize that's like the main thing. Okay.
Oh, she was in A Simple Favor. It was like definitely super advertised, like everywhere right at the beginning of COVID, or like
A Simple Favor. Was it a good movie? Did you see it?
It was good. It was one of those where there definitely was kind of like a twist at the end that I wasn't expecting, but it was also like super intense. It makes you feel a bit uncomfortable. But look her up.
I like those movies. We'll check it out.
If you look up just the two of them and look up like Instagram or like Twitter posts, like they make fun of each other all the time, and it cracks me up.
Okay. That is good.
Like I think one time she was like, "Oh, happy birthday to my husband, like love you so much," but it was like her and maybe one of the Chris's, like those Chris's that girls like freak out over about, like
Chris. I don't know.
Oh, like Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth and like.
Okay.
So I just saw like I associate them as the Chris's because I'm like they're just the actors. But she cropped She cropped Ryan Reynolds out of it, like it's only half of his face. And like it's her like with the other guy. It was just really funny.
Oh my God, that's okay. All right.
So I think them. And then for dinner, I would love to. I think Tolkien. I think I would want to have dinner with J.R.R. Tolkien and just ask him about Lord of the Rings and like his personal life experience and like how he, I don't know, the people who can create whole worlds like that, like and develop languages, and it's just something that people now are like they're well versed in. I'm not one of those people, but I have friends that are just completely well versed in the Tolkien universe and just know everything, and I'm like, I don't know how you can live in two worlds at once. Like that's kind of what it feels like to me. So I think that would be who I'd want to have dinner with.
That's dope. That's awesome. Yeah, I think of George R.R. Martin when you mentioned that whole creating worlds thing. Like when I've like sat and actually thought about the fact that someone wrote the books that created, created Game of Thrones, like that whole storyline is just, it's almost too in depth and amazing to acknowledge that someone envisioned this and like thought to create like it's mind blowing is what it is.
It's almost like, have they actually lived life here? You know, like
Yeah,
if that makes
exactly.
sense. I'm like, how much
Yeah.
time like it must have taken for them to write this? It's like, I feel like there was 5 to 10 years where they just couldn't exist in the real world. They just had
Right.
to be secluded and be like, you know, this is a world that I'm developing. Like, for them to, George R.R. Martin or Tolkien, like for them to have not even just that current world where the book is in, but just have like hundreds of years to thousands of years of history behind it.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you develop that and like
Right.
then go to lunch with your wife? Like, how does that work?
Right. Can you please explain that to me? Because I need an explanation right this second. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. But it puts things in perspective about just like the way creatives' minds, you know, can work. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
And Anna, good news for you. I remembered the other question.
Good.
So this question has to do with your music, and it'll be the last question of the day.
Okay.
And then you can have hopefully a decent amount of time. I don't know what time your first like appointment is for like your lessons, but hopefully you have a little time to like chill, get like an omelet or get like a little chicken sandwich or something. I had a really good chicken sandwich yesterday. Lemon pepper garlic rub. My sister-in-law's boyfriend works for a food truck. Shout out to Too Much Sauce food truck.
Ooh.
And yeah, they make all kind of great stuff. And yeah, she brought over a chicken sandwich yesterday, and I texted her. I think I said, and I've never used this word. Said, "Hey Ash, thank you so much for bringing the food over." I said the chicken sandwich was delightful, and I never say delightful ever, but I just felt like that was, you know what I'm saying? Like it really encapsulated, like, because it wasn't like normal bread either. It was like kind of like this Hawaiian roll kind of thing, like a little like it was really good. I enjoyed it.
It sounds delightful. I don't know where this food truck is, but I feel like I need to track it down. And
You absolutely do. Plainfield, New Jersey. You got to track it down. Got to
yeah.
come visit and make it happen, and we will get you a free platter. Okay, that's Khordmaster hookup kind of thing, right?
Yes,
You know,
yes. We can write after. We can do some freeform writing while we eat chicken sandwiches about delightful, because it's a word both of us don't use. I think this sounds like a good plan.
I'm with it. I mean, I think I'm making you hungry right now because we've been talking for 1 hour and 21 minutes. So there's a good chance that you're probably like craving such a sandwich right now.
I know.
And hopefully you can get something, something close to it. So this question is about your music, and it's derived from a time when I was in Costco. Okay, and I was walking in there with. It's amazing, especially around the holiday season. It's like holiday stuff around. I'll be in there for like hours. I love when there is a piano in there and you just sit there and you just start playing, because they're like selling them. You know, they have like a lot of them in bulk or whatever, and just one sitting there.
I have never gone to a Costco where there's a piano, and now I feel cheated. Like,
oh yeah, because you would just be able to sit there. And, oh, by the way, can I see your tattoo? That looks cool. It's like like a plant or flower. What we got going on there?
So I got, this one was my first tattoo I ever got. So this is lavender, and then I got a quote, and then I was like, how do I like connect these two? So I just did a wrap of peonies. So
love it. How long ago? Recent?
I think this one is the most recent. I got this in 2019, and then I got it colored in I think last year. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. So yeah, I was in Costco with headphones on, and I was listening to my own music, and I was just like, this is an amazing song right here. Like this specific song, I just felt that way. I was like, man. And I thought to myself, I was like, if anyone in the music business or anyone who's like connecting with me that has, you know, like large level of influence or whatever, and they're open to hearing a song, I was like, this is probably the song that I might send them. It might not be my favorite song that I made. It's probably not, but it's like it's the most interesting sounding that I think might be the most appealing to a vast number of people. Oh, that was cool. It sounded like an applause. Was that an applause?
No, it's my dog. Her ears are way too large, so when she shakes her head, she claps with her ears.
That was okay. That was actually okay.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
On my stream, people always say I have a percussionist, or like she'll applaud at the end of a song.
Yeah, that's okay. So
I'll sample it in a song one day.
You kind of have to, I think, at this point. So my question with regards to that is what would be like a song of yours that if like take me for example, if I'm like, yo, I want to hear some of your music, but I don't have time to like listen to an album or listen to a whole lot. Like, what would be a song that you would say, oh, to get an idea about who I am as an artist, I would recommend checking out this song?
Okay. I love this is a great question. I know
a good one?
pressure.
Okay, good.
Pressure's on. I would say, Hope, probably.
Okay.
I have a song called Hope, and I think it was the first time. So again, it's probably not my peak. It was like within a year of me learning, less than a year of me learning production.
Okay.
And my first two songs, I was still kind of like getting a hold of where I wanted to go production wise. I was just kind of like using a bunch of plugins and being like, this is so cool that I could just pick any vibe that I wanted. But I think Hope was the first time where I lyrically and musically was able to kind of encapsulate where I wanted my music to go. And afterwards, I think I got caught up, like swept up again, kind of in all the things that I could do and the avenues I could take. So then it's kind of twofold. If Hope, and then if not Hope, my second choice would be Greatest Love is my most recent release. But I think it was like the first time I kind of went back to what Hope did for me.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit more refined, I guess.
Okay.
But
Hope and Greatest Love.
yeah.
All right. So I'm going to listen to both of those immediately upon completing this episode, probably while I'm washing some dishes. I need to wash those dishes. They've been sitting there for too long. I have to do it, you know?
Well, now I'm not going to get a chicken sandwich. Now I feel bad, and I feel like I should do my dishes because they've been sitting there a while too.
Exactly. We're on the same page here. And then maybe you might have a little time to maybe get one after.
True.
Presumably.
True. Yeah.
Presumably. Well, here's what I'm going to say. I started the show a while ago, and it was for this. It was to be able to connect with people in a way that is beyond what's capable on social media, and people that I think are interesting based on not many factors, but just who I think they are, you know, based on who they present, how they present themselves. And the fact that this conversation was exactly that, and so like in terms of just enjoying, plus it had such a great amount of valuable information for me and for others who are going to be in that space for Twitch streaming or streaming anywhere. I just got to say, like, all smiles. I'm super excited that I reached out, and I'm super gracious and grateful that you took the time out to chat with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been absolutely lovely. It's been delightful, Kevin. It really has. And I'm not even joking. This has been so wonderful to talk and to get to know you a little bit more. When's the next time you stream?
Good question. So that will be tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Oh, perfect.
Eastern time.
Eastern time.
Tomorrow at 12 Eastern. I'll be on tomorrow 12 to 3 right now. So I do Sunday nights at 9, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12. But I'm based on our conversation, and this Thursday we're traveling for our baby moon. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh.
So I know it's crazy. It's crazy. I can't believe it.
Are you already like picking out names? And
we have a girl name. We don't know what the gender is yet,
okay.
But we have a girl name, and we don't have a boy name yet.
Okay.
And so it's just one of those blessings that I can't put into words. I can't articulate, but it is a delightful situation for sure. We'll stick with the theme of the conversation here. But I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna definitely do, I believe, that 2 days, and have the one floater kind of thing, 1 or 2, just depending on how the week goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be on tomorrow at 12 for sure.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and I'm gonna say that after I close the episode, let's wait for like 10 seconds so we can upload, and then we can be dismissed.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awkward, but thank you very much for your time, and hope you have an awesome rest of the day. Okay?
Oh, thank you. You too.